Columbus Dons boys basketball coach Joe Konieczny now with us. The Dons winners of the WIAA Division 5 state championship a year ago. Wonderful season for the Columbus Dons. They've had a number of those in recent years under Coach Konieczny, and now back once again with a much different crew, but still a very solid, very fine ball club. Coach, thanks for coming by, and welcome to our program for this evening.
Thank you for having me. I always really enjoy it.
Well, good to have you with us once again this year, and fill us in on the start of your ball club. What progress you think your ball club has made so far this year?
It's a fun group. We've had a lot to replace. We've played 6 games to this point. We won 4 of those games. Some losses to 2 really good non-conference opponents in McDonell and Auburndale. I think we have a young group that's learning as we go, but they work really hard, and they're really good people and fun to be around. So, our hope is that we continue to learn and by playoff time become a really difficult team to knock out of the playoffs.
Can you reflect one more time, Coach, for our listeners, your thoughts about that great accomplishment last year of winning that state championship?
Very grateful. I thank those young men a lot of times for the opportunity to be their coach and to go on that ride with them. Those are things that you'll remember forever, to get to coach at the Kohl Center, multiple times now, and to get there and win it. We failed at every step of the way over 19 years before we did that. We had 7 sectional finals, lost 4 of them, a couple in overtime. To get to state 3 times and finally come home with a gold ball, something that you'll never forget. You're grateful for, and you're just appreciative that all the pieces kind of fell together in year 19. I'm very, very grateful.
Can you reflect, Coach, as a former Columbus student, longtime coach, educator at Columbus High School as well, what that state championship means overall to the overall Columbus Catholic school system?
Well, I'm very proud of our school. We talk a lot about the purpose of athletics as it relates to a school system, and I think it's the visible component, probably the most visible component, and I really believe that our school's as good as it gets, and I feel like we finally represented them like they deserve to be represented. And we had some teams, 20, 30 years ago, going back to Walt Kroll and Don's football, and the tradition there with athletics is tremendous. So very, very proud that our basketball program was finally able to do that for the school.
Well, tell us about the young men on your ball club. First of all, the process of replacing so many good ball players from a year ago and incorporating these new men into your system this year.
We have 2 seniors that are out this year. Sam Dooms, Ezra Duda. Sam plays big minutes for us, had a small role last year. And then on our varsity team, we have 6 juniors: Matt Konieczny, Caleb Hilgeman, Devlin Timler, Jack Colbeck, Cade Jansen, and Mason Edwards. All very athletic, all very quick, really good defensively, learning as we go offensively. We're playing 3 sophomores a lot right now. We started 3 of them in the last few games with injuries: Cole Wallace, Ben Weiland, and Carter Summer. And then we have 2 other sophomores that are going to have bright futures. A kid named Ray Becker, his older brother Cy was on the team last year, and a young man named Elijah Wolf, who's just a tremendous athlete and a really hard worker and good kid. So I'm hopeful that this year is a stepping stone towards great things, and I think by the end of the season we could be pretty formidable.
Have you had to tweak a few things in terms of your system offensively or defensively to accommodate these new ball players?
Well, I think we're better defensively. We're playing a lot more man-to-man in hopes that those habits will carry over into some other things that we like to do. We're struggling to find some offense right now, mainly balance. I think Mac had 23 the first game. Nobody else was in double figures. And then you could see in McDonell and Auburndale especially really try to take him away. Last night, Spencer did the same thing. Face guarded him, double-teamed him. But those 3 sophomores all scored in double figures. I think Carter had 15 and Ben and Cole had 14. And last night was more like last year where you have 4 guys in double figures, and there's a balance. Like last year, the thing that was probably our greatest asset was we had three kids that could score 20 on any given night, and they didn't care who did it. I think Emmett ended up with 1,300, and Blake was 1,100, and Charlie was 900. So we had three seniors last year combined for 3,000 points. And those conversations were had where it's just, do you want one guy to score 2,000, or do you want to have 3 guys combined for 3,000? And that's the secret, I think, is just having depth and scoring. A team can shut down 1 or 2, but if you have that 3rd or 4th person that can get you 10 or 15, it's very, very hard to stop.
Tell us about Mac's role this year as the only real player from last year who got a lot of minutes for you.
Well, I think we rely on him defensively. I think we've worn him out the first 6 games, which is my fault. We have to find a way to find him some rest. He's guarding the other team's best player, being guarded by the other team's best player. And I think in the second halves of games, he's gassed, and rightfully so. So last night we rested him a few minutes each half. It seemed to be effective. gave some other guys a chance to be the defensive stopper at times. And I think it's just a matter of him fitting with the new group. He was in a role last year as a 5th or 6th guy where he could score 10 points and kind of be the 4th option, and he got a lot of open shots and made them. This year, it's been a different experience for him as far as, hey, there's one guy in my face and a second one waiting for me. So it's going to be an adjustment process, but if those other 3 or 4 can knock down shots like they did last night, I think it's something that'll develop into a good experience.
One of the aspects I've noticed about your ball club this year is athletic size. You do have some bigger guys, and they're athletic as well. Tell us about utilizing their skills this year.
You're right. We, Carter's a legit 6'4", 6'5", and he's a sophomore, still growing. Caleb Hilgeman's a 6'5", 6'6" kid. The Jack Colbeck, the junior off the bench, is a legitimate 6'6". We do have some length that we haven't had probably since the Bryce Fernley or Jared Mandel group, which is good. Caleb went down against McDonald. Hasn't played this week. It really hurt us against Auburndale. We got out rebounded 30-14. They're a very, very good opponent. Hopefully we'll have him back in the next week or two. But you're right, we have some size and athleticism. Now we just have to find a way to have that, put the ball in the basket, and it's something we're working on.
Yeah, I was certainly pleasantly surprised to watch their ball game against McDonald and see Jack Colbeck out there taking threes and hitting threes. So he has some good athleticism there.
Yeah, we have some players that worked really, really hard this offseason. I think Jack and Sam are 2 examples. Especially offensively, they've added a dimension as far as being able to shoot the ball where you can't leave them anymore like maybe you would have been able to last year. So very, very proud of those guys.
Larry, any questions or comments you have for Coach Konieczny?
You won the state title last year, and your JV team went 21-0. How much of importance is that with these young kids coming up now?
It's huge. I think our philosophy is that what we do on game day is probably overrated from a coaching standpoint. We put a ton of time in from kindergarten on up, and we just want to be the program that's always knocking on the door, and then hopefully the door finally opens. But you're right. We have 13 freshmen this year. 7th and 8th grade are pretty solid. 6th grade is really, really good, and then all the way down to like our 3rd, 4th, and 5th. There's some kids that work really hard in those groups. So the goal is to never have that year where you just kind of fall off and go from a state championship to 5 or 6 wins. We don't want to do that. And I think the advantage for that JV team is a lot of those guys got to practice 3 extra weeks and guard Emmett and Blake and Charlie in practice, and that carries over into the offseason and into this season.
Clarabelle Conference, just a couple of games, actually 1 game or 2 in, but from what I've seen, it's going to be as tough as it's ever been.
I would agree. I think 1 through 6 or 7, it's going to be a ton of fun. It's going to be a little bit stressful for coaches, I think. But Colby's very good. That Colby Loyal game last night, you're sitting there going, holy cow. Neilsville, the way they play, it's just up and down and mixing defenses, some kids who can shoot, and they have some size too, some athleticism. Owen Withy's good. Right all the whole conference. Even Spencer was 3-0 last night, and I have some really nice players. The Beslett kid and the foreign exchange student's a really nice athlete. So I don't anticipate any easy games in the conference for sure.
Any prediction on where you want to fit in on?
Well, we want to compete every night. I think Loyal's probably the pick with what they have back, and a really, really athletic group of size. But then Colby last night gave them a run. I think Neilsville and Columbus are trying to figure it out, replacing a lot of guys. Coach Geyer and I talked last year when we played them at Columbus. They had 11 seniors and we had 9. And I told him, I don't know that I've ever been part of a game where 20 of these guys won't be here next year. So it's going to be a little different. And, and you can tell on their films that they're trying to figure it out, too. The Hazer kid can score, and you know what he can do. But there's other guys trying to develop a role and to figure out where they fit.
Now, over the years, you guys have been a 3-point shooting team. Is that something you're still going to be doing this year?
Yeah, we shoot a lot of threes. We just got to learn to make them. And that's kind of been the issue these first 4 or 5 games is consistency, where we'll go in stretches and it's like, wow, we could be really good. And then 8 or 9 trips down the floor, we miss open shots. So I think that's something that individuals can work on their own time, and we have some boys that are doing that. And I think it's a confidence thing, too. When you're a sophomore and you're out there for the first time, it's a little quicker, it's a little different, and it's going to be a learning experience for sure.
I know sometimes when especially young shooters, when they miss a couple, they're a little leery to shoot anymore.
Yeah.
But if you're going to be a shooter, they always say you got to shoot to get hot.
100%, short memory. And I've told 3 or 4 of them, I'm never going to yell at you for taking an open 3. If you miss 10 in a row, the 11th one has to go up. You know, no offense, you're 5'9". We're not going to start posting you up. So you need to continue to take outside shots.
Gene?
Coach, tell us once again about the new field house, what that means to your school and your program.
Yeah, it's been something that's been in the works for a long time. You know, our school has 1 gym for 10 teams. When you look at the youth teams and the high school teams, you know, we'll practice tonight after this. A lot of times we'll go at 5:30 in the morning. We've raised a lot of money privately, I think over $10 million, and it's under construction, and in July it'll open 4 full courts, some batting cages, a weight room, and 4 new classrooms to kind of accommodate growing enrollment. So we're very excited as the coach selfishly to be able to stand in the middle and watch 4 of your youth teams at once, and to really not have to spend 14 hours a day to get to know every player in your program from grade school on up. It's going to be great, and I think we can host some great events for the community and for the other schools in the area with 4 courts and our high school gym. So very, very excited and very grateful for the people that made that happen.
Well, good. And if you would fill us in on your coaching staff for this year.
Oh, I have 3 or 4 former players. Jared Mandel teaches social studies for us. He's our JV coach. Nick Mulliver and Charles Payant coach our JV too. And then Scott Scheuer is a varsity assistant this year. All those guys, so appreciative for what they do. You know, Coach Scheuer has done an unbelievable job with strength and conditioning. Jared, Nick, and Charles do a really good job with those younger players, kind of teaching them what it's about to be in the program. And those guys are all just fun to be around. I just enjoy being around all 4 of them.
And the Neilsville Ball Club at your place on Friday night.
Yeah, they're good. It's going to be a Clover Belt East game, probably back and forth, some great plays and some head scratchers, and I think both teams will learn as they go to an extent.
And that game will be seen on ZaleskiSports.com, heard on WPKG as well, with Larry Hazer calling the action. Coach, good luck in that ball game and throughout the season.
Thanks, guys, and thanks for all the coverage. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.